Hey guys, and welcome to Swami Studios. I'm your host, MoonlightSwami, and today I'm bringing you guys the Dugout Episode 5 with Jared, aka Saint of Sins, and Mo the Foe 16. And before we start the show, I would just like to say two condolences to Earl Weaver, who passed away today on a cruise with his wife at the age of 83, or 82, and Stan Musial, who passed away at the age of 92, more recently. Earl Weaver, Hall of Fame manager for the Baltimore Orioles, managed for the better part of 15 years, 3 pennants, 1 World Series, and he got voted in on the Veterans Committee in 1996. Stan Musial, one of the best players in baseball history, easily got in on 92.3% in 1969, 331 lifetime average, 7 NL batting titles, 3 NL MVP awards, 475 home runs, 24-time All-Star, 20 years. There were 4 mid-season and late-season games for the All-Star. He had almost 1,000 more walks than he did strikeouts, and he also has 3,600 hits, averaged 194 a season, hit over 200 hits 6 times in his career, and he was the first player to play 1,000 games at 2 different positions. Rest in peace to 2 baseball legends, and let's start the show. Okay, so basically, there hasn't been too much going on in the past few weeks, but this week had more of a flair to it. Jared, what's that face for?
Oh, just the all seasons really picked up this week. There's been a lot of news.
Yeah. Let's start off with, let's go to Rafael Soriano with the Washington Nationals signing for 2 years. Anyone exact numbers on that?
$28 million.
2 years, $28 million. So that's a huge deal for a team that lost Sean Burnett to the Angels this offseason. One of the best bullpens in baseball to begin with. Do you guys think they're the best bullpen right now with this ad?
I think I'd still give the advantage to the Reds.
All right. Let's take into account that in Washington it is more... Would you guys agree it's more of a pitcher's park?
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. So Soriano's main problem is home runs. That has been his problem his entire career. He's going from New York, where he didn't give up too many, he's improved on that, to the National League, a weaker league based on hitting because of only 8 hitters, and all that. And he has improved everything. Do you think that he'll have a big impact as that closer as they move Storen into a setup man role, kind of platoon pitcher like Tyler Clippard?
Jared?
They'll be fine in the back end of that bullpen. The problem is, where are the lefties in that bullpen?
Clippard. Isn't he a lefty?
No.
No.
Oh. I know they said something. I think they said that Storen was really excellent against lefties. So
This may be so, but they need a lefty specialist. I mean, they lost 2 really strong lefty specialists out of the pen, and then they lost another lefty out of the pen in Tom Gorzolani.
yeah.
So I'm just wondering, do they not know that there are lefties that still hit within this league?
There are only a few. But yeah,
Even those few are still very dangerous hitters.
yeah, they're in trouble. In that aspect, I mean, yes, Storen is I think he is what you would consider a lefty specialist, but I know he's a righty, but I'm pretty sure, let me just double check on that while you guys converse on it. I'm pretty sure that he has phenomenal numbers against lefties in his career.
I can bring them up right now.
I think they'll be fine regardless if they have lefties in the pen or not. I mean, you got Clippard, Storen, Soriano. 7-8-9 is pretty much done.
That's a tremendous 7-8-9, but the problem is sometimes you need a little help getting there.
Never mind.
Sometimes that means you need a lefty specialist. You
It's
need
not
at least
Storen.
one.
It's not Storen, who I was thinking of. 289 lifetime average in 2012, not lifetime, against lefties.
Yeah.
Might have been Clippard, but I don't know.
I doubt that one as well.
Okay, let's look at the other signings across Major League Baseball. The Red Sox picked up Mike Napoli for 1 year, $5 million after a 3-year, $39 million deal broke down. comments, concerns?
I've got one major concern. How does someone who struggled to hit anywhere near the Mendoza line ends up with a 2-year, $17 million guaranteed contract, and the guy that ended up on the All-Star and has been more reliable a batter end up with a 1-year deal that's not even worth 10?
Yeah.
How does this happen?
Oh, by the way, Clippard had a lifetime 186 batting average against lefties. 213 versus righty, so he is the lefty specialist on that squad.
No. Swami, what you understand that a lefty specialist?
Yes, I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah. I know he's not a quote-unquote specialist, but he does very well against lefties, and so does Soriano.
Well, so did Evan Meek, but eventually
you
things
love
break down, things change. Lefty batters start picking up tendencies. You need a guy out there that throws from the left side of the plate, because it's harder for left-handed hitters to pick up the release point
when it comes in on them. It is hard.
This comment section is dead right now. What's going on?
Okay. What other deals? Oh, with the re-signing of Adam LaRoche for the Nationals, it was impending. It was going to happen. Michael Morse was traded to the Seattle Mariners in a 3-way deal, sending Morse to Seattle, John Jaso over to Oakland, and Washington getting back somebody that they traded for in the Gio Gonzalez trade. What was his name?
AJ Cole.
Yes, thank you. So, what do you guys think about that trade? Was it smart all around, or do you think anybody got robbed?
I think the A's got robbed. I
wouldn't say that, but go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, they got Jason or they traded him?
They got Jason, the A's.
Yeah, and they gave up a couple pretty good prospects to what I know. I think that it was definitely not good for the A's. I think the Mariners definitely got the better end.
Okay. Jared, what do you think?
I think the A's overpaid in this entire deal, considering they're giving up 3 prospects and getting back Jaso, who's okay. He's a good. He definitely fits their build. The problem is it's still Jaso.
Yeah.
It doesn't really. I guess what they had their fears that AJ Cole probably wasn't going to pan out the way they had hoped, because he had some horrendous numbers down in A- ball and then in A+ ball. And then they just threw in. They still haven't named the other player, but I know that the third player they did list off. What was it? What was it? Had it right here. Here we go.
On it, but
Blake Trinan, and he's middle of the road. He'll probably be a guy that makes you fill out your minor league system to help out with development for the other guys, the younger guys, as his career goes on. But that's about it. Still, I think the A's overpaid for Jaso, and the winner on this trade, everyone wins out to some extent, but the clear front runner is clearly the Mariners. They get the power that they need, and helps add some extra depth to that lineup, so that way they actually can put up some runs for whatever pitching they're going to have behind Felix.
Do they still have Justin Smoke?
Yes.
Yeah.
So who's going to be playing first?
I think you go with Smoke, and if Smoke doesn't pan out, you go with Morse.
So Morse would be playing what? DH, third base? Well, you have Morales at DH. Third base, outfield, what?
I think
he played the majority of his career in the outfield. So
probably outfield.
Left field was his spot, even though he doesn't have a great arm.
I'm thinking they'll probably find a way to slot in Morse out in left field, since they're probably going to move Montero back to catching, which frees up the DH spot to be played around with between Morales and
Ibanez.
They
have Bay.
Bay will probably get a good chunk of DH time as well.
I think he'll be playing right field for a while. Who do they have in center?
I
feel like I'm going very old school, thinking Franklin Gutierrez.
No, Gutierrez. They sat down. I think he might be their 4th outfielder at this point. Let me actually see what their roster is looking like now.
I mean, the Mariners, they're building up. They don't
Oh, it's
have...
Michael Saunders,
Michael
Derp.
Oh yeah.
The guy who the only guy that had the best year last year for them offensively, Herp Derp.
Yeah, he's a good player. The Mariners are really kind of building towards something. They're getting step by step, inch by inch closer, kind of like what the Royals have been doing over the past few years. Except I think that they're trying to make some trades to build up a little bit faster because they see a panic mode coming with how strong every other team is building up around them.
I don't see it as a panic mode. I see it as them trying to remain strategically marketable within a growing, tougher division.
All right. But do you think that them trying to grow this much this fast, or the way that they're moving, could hurt them in the long run? Especially
Not really, considering they still have a pretty decent farm system, and they've managed to avoid trading off big pieces of that farm system in these deals that they've managed to swindle so far. I mean, they got Morse for nothing.
Yeah.
They just gave up Jaso.
Right, they're kind of lucky now that they didn't get the Upton trade to go through.
Yeah. Considering, I think there was
Considering what they would have given up for him
Yeah,
versus what they gave up for Morse.
two pitchers,
They would have
two of
given
their
up
top.
Walker, their top prospect,
Yeah.
and they would have given up, I think, their fourth pitching prospect, who I think one of them, from what I saw, is going to get injured on his way up. So I don't know. He needs to change something. But Walker is a strong pitcher. Throws 95-ish. Young, has some potential. Had some decent numbers in AAA. I believe I believe he made it up to AAA. Didn't do too well. But, they definitely have some very good young prospects who have a lot of capability down there. Depends on how well they bring them up, and if they bring them up when they're ready or too soon. They're still a fourth-place team in this division. Agreed?
Not so much.
Really?
I could see them just ahead of either the A's or the Rangers.
Jared, what do you think the chronological order will be?
Well, based on right now, I think the Rangers are the team that I think is going to be more likely to falter because they're trying to build around pitching when they've always had a reputation for hitting, and they've lost a lot of power this offseason.
They have. They replaced it somewhat with a consistent hitter in Pierzynski. And their center field is kind of lacking at the moment, but, do you really consider just losing... I know Hamilton's a big loss, but the loss of Napoli, I don't know how much that's going to affect them, considering how bad his average was. And
it's not about average, it's about the RBIs, and he was able to help out in big ways.
Out a lot. He struck out a lot, and I think that hurt them more than anything last year. After the year he had 2 years ago, and going back to Mike Napoli form, batting, 240 with a 290, I think it was, on base or something around there. He didn't have that great of a season, but I don't know. I think that they're going to be a good team. They're building up pitching, which they need in that division. I don't know. I think they'll still be a third or fourth place team. The Rangers, a third place team, not fourth. I think A's, with the young talent they have, and the miracle magic they can pull off with Seth Spidez and Reddick in that outfield, and Moss and some good young pitching, I think they'll finish second, and I think Seattle's going to be close. I don't think they're going to finish in third. And then the Astros, they're just going to be giving away free wins in their concession stands. Any other deals this week? A lot of arbitration going on.
Yeah.
Big. I don't know if it's big news. Chase Headley wanted $13 million. The Padres offered him $7.5.
No, I think the bigger deal then would be Romo getting shortcut about $2 million on his deal.
Did he accept it?
No.
Okay, so I think Romo and Headley, because after Headley's season, he's somebody who is a very well sought after third baseman. Do you think that the Padres won't be able to afford him and he'll walk?
I think probably. Yeah. I don't know what their budget stands at right now, if they can afford to re-sign a guy like Headley, but I think in the end, he'll probably leave.
What do you think, Jared?
I think they can afford him. I just think that they're trying to undercut his values a little bit. I think that this was more a ploy to try and get arbitration to agree to somewhere between a $10 to $12 million deal for him instead of the 14 that he thinks he's owed.
Well, he is pretty much in that range based on how he played last season. But one season, again, doesn't make a player necessarily, as proven with Napoli and with Vernon Wells, who every other season, every walk season hits 330, and then the next season hits 220. Any other big news across Major League Baseball?
Corey Hart's injury. Just had surgery.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad for the Brewers, who, without Fielder, are already after the loss of Fielder, they suffered a little bit last year, decently.
They bounced back in the second half, despite already trading off Greinke. Well, they were doing fine with Greinke still on the rotation. They managed to still be active and give a good chase for the wild card, despite already giving up Greinke, and were looking to sell off Markham.
Who did they get for Greinke?
I can tell you right now,
because
I know it was a huge package.
It doesn't matter who it is. It benefited them much more than it benefited Anaheim, because they don't have him anymore. So
better yet, it benefited them because Anaheim didn't even make playoffs, despite what they gave up to get him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He was there for half a season, and he's not sticking around, and he didn't help them enough to get to that goal, which was what the whole deal was for.
All right, it was Ariel Pena, John Helwig, and Jean Segura.
Okay,
I think
so
it was Pena that was the Angels' top prospect.
Okay,
or
so
maybe it was Segura. I can't remember which.
Either way, some good prospects for a Brewers team that without Markham, without Greinke, without Hart for the majority of the season, right? Maybe like August. He's supposed to come back, if anything.
I don't know. I didn't see.
Let's go around their team. They have Aoki. Is that his name? Nakamura Aoki. They have Braun. They have Aramis Ramirez. They have Luke Roy, and they have Gamble. And they have Giovanni Giardo and Axford. They have some other pieces in there, but this team went from a series away from the World Series to a borderline third team. Do you think that the Brewers are going to finish anywhere above third place in this upcoming season, with the Pirates playing decently, the Cardinals, and the Reds? Just putting the fact that the Cubs are going to be in last place pretty much as a definitive.
Yeah, I'm sold on. It's probably going to be tough considering the Cardinals have always been a strong team. You got the Reds. They've proven over the past couple of years now that they can consistently be a playoff contender, and they fortify that bullpen in such a way that I think it's going to be tough to knock them. The Pirates, however, I'm still not sold on them doing anything because they still haven't filled up the gaps in a meaningful way. They don't have a consistent hitter behind Andrew McCutchen. I mean, you're going to get some decent production numbers out of Neil Walker on a consistent basis, but it's just not enough.
If Alvarez stays in the major leagues, he has some power despite bad average.
Oh, he's got tremendous power. The problem is half the time, he just can't put bat to ball, and that's kind of the thing that kind of killed Jose Bautista for a while until he went up to Toronto, where they finally figured out a way to get him to consistently put bat on ball.
Yeah. Do you think the Pirates, with their pitching, without Hanrahan, with their prospects, with any of this, could finish in third? Or do you think that the Brewers are going to beat them out for it?
It's going to be tough. I think it's really going to be tough. They might have a leg up on the Brewers now simply because they are hurt, and that rotation has thinned out a lot considerably just this past half year. But right now, it's really a coin toss between those two teams, and I'm not really comfortable flipping that coin just yet, considering we still have spring training to come along, and we still have plenty of offseason to go. To see if these teams can fortify their lineups.
All right. News in the Dodgers: $100 million renovation on their stadium. One of the nicest stadiums in baseball. What are your guys' favorite stadiums across the league? It can be current or dating back to being active in 1990. Which do you think is your favorite stadium? It can be historical. It can be personal. What is it? Let's try to bring in a personal experience maybe into this. Jared, you want to go first?
I was waiting for Mo to kind of chime in, but I guess I'll go first then.
No. If Mo, do you have it?
I'll think about it.
Okay.
Just
Jared.
based on the aesthetics alone, I think PNC is probably the most gorgeous looking park I think I've ever seen, hands down every year. But the only stadium I know personally would be the new Yankee Stadium and the old Yankee Stadium. And the old Yankee Stadium, of course, is going to get huge nostalgia points just because fucking Yankee Stadium's the house that Ruth built. But in terms of current day stadiums, I think the new Yankee Stadium does great justice in providing great lines of sight pretty much from every seat in the house. It's truly an amazing work of architecture, and it's really pleasing to kind of just be able to go in there, even though I can't really stand the team all that much
Anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been to a lot of stadiums. Fenway was great. It was a great experience, but it was hot as hell, so I don't have that great of experience. I was pretty young. Los Angeles Dodger Stadium was fantastic. It really was. But best stadium I've ever been to is Busch Stadium. It was the warmest atmosphere that I've ever been in. It was, to bring back a memory, it was kind of like the old Tigers Park. Just the way that all the fans are around there, you can hear everybody. There's no negativity in the ballpark whatsoever. Former Cardinals players who came, who were on the other team, I went to a Cardinals Reds and a Cardinals Padres game. And in the Padres game, David Eckstein was playing on the Padres, got a standing ovation. I mean, it's David Eckstein. It's little David Eckstein. I know he was a hero, but just the feel to the stadium, it was very circular, very close, tight-knit, beautiful stadium. Had a lot of nostalgia to it, even though it was a newer stadium. I think it was the nicest stadium I've ever been to and seen. Mo has disappeared for the moment, so why don't we get a look at the comment section?
All right. Well,
Sorry, I'm back.
Okay, well, you can tell your story while Jared looks for some comments.
Okay. I've heard a lot of good stuff about Petco. Never been there, but I mean, seems nice.
All right, short, sweet, to the point.
right. I got this was a question that I saw a lot earlier in the broadcast, and I thought it was a really good one to kind of touch up on. Do you think Montreal could ever support MLB baseball again?
No, not the way that unless they have a completely new stadium and unless the entire government supports it. They cut out English-speaking broadcasts. They only broadcast in French. That killed them. Fans love the sport there. The Toronto Blue Jays definitely hurt them. And the way that they had to get rid of all their players in the '94 strike definitely hurt, cut deep. But the stadium sucked. It was absolutely pathetic, Olympic Stadium. And, I mean, I went there. It was the loneliest, coldest, most vile stadium I've ever been to. And I've been to the Oakland Alameda Coliseum. But I think that the fans would be on board, but I don't think everybody else would be around them.
I'm not sold on the fans being on board so much because they had their opportunities and they still couldn't show up to the ballpark even when they were on a really good, high, strong roll. And I think it's a tough sell considering, there's history now there that kind of demonstrates that baseball is not welcome there to some extent. But, I mean, if we're going to expand, there'd have to be a owner that's not only willing to kind of suffer, whatever attendance Montreal was willing to hand them, but ultimately it can provide financially his own stadium for the most part because he's not going to get a whole lot of help. So I think it's definitely an uphill battle if we're ever going to see baseball in Montreal ever again, at least on the major league level.
I completely agree. It doesn't seem plausible. Mo has disappeared. I'm going to re-invite him back, but while I do, let's find some other questions.
I'm just going to ignore that one. couple of questions. A couple of guys asking where do we think Michael Bourne will end up signing?
It's kind of hard. Texas, I don't know. They need a center fielder at the moment, but they have some young guys that they might want to pursue before they go after somebody of Bourne's expense. He would be a great fit back in Atlanta. I think that would probably be his best fit. The Yankees need another outfielder. Whether they'd be willing to spend the money the way that they've been trending recently, I don't think so. I think either Atlanta or probably Atlanta is probably the best bet for Michael Bourne.
Yeah, I'm still not sold on a lot of teams looking at him, given his price tag and what it could potentially cost him in terms of drafting. I think the Yankees would definitely be open to that. I'm not sure if they're in dire need of an outfielder because they do have plenty of options.
3 at the moment. They have Granderson, Gardner, and Suzuki. Diaz is not a good enough player.
No, of course not, but he could still play.
Would you really want a Russell Martin type hitter with Cervelli in that lineup? Because Cervelli's their best option at catcher at the moment.
Okay, you can live with that for like maybe one game out of every, 2.5 weeks?
No, you can't.
Yeah, you actually could.
Eh.
Teams have been doing it for forever.
So
then you also have Eduardo Nunez, who's more than happy to play out in the outfield. As a matter of fact, this is from everything that I heard. He sounds like he's willing to make the move permanent.
I'd like to see if he could field better.
He can.
I mean, he definitely has a reputation for being a better hitter than fielder. But if you remember his 4-error game at shortstop and a very bad fielding season previously, he doesn't have that reputation.
Not sold on that.
From what I've heard, he's not a fielding savant, and But I think with Gardner's health problems, with Ichiro's age, and with Granderson locking down center, I think Bourne could be a definite good fit to have on that team.
Well, like I said, he could fit pretty much any team right now. He's definitely a good fit for anyone.
Platoon at the moment. Who do the Yankees have to platoon and DH at the moment?
At the moment?
I don't think they have really anybody. A-Rod's not going to be back until July, August.
Right.
Jeter might be playing some DH for a while if he's not fully able to play at short. They don't have much. I don't think. Do they still have Casey McGee, or did they cut him loose?
Hadn't heard his name in a while, so I think he might have gotten cut sometime last year.
Okay. So, I mean, to think about it, you could put Ichiro at DH every once in a while, give him a rest, give Gardner a rest, let Bourne play out there, and just work that rotation around, keeping your outfielders fresh, keep them healthy until A-Rod gets back, and then maybe
he's
trade.
Still a free agent. McGahee is still a free agent.
Okay, so, I mean, they're not going to bring up, Sanchez anytime soon for catcher, so that's not going to be any indication for anything. What is he, 19? He's not coming up anytime soon, unless they desperately need him to, which I doubt they will, at the cost of exposing him too soon. I think that he would fit well, but like I said, I don't know if they'll spend the money.
Yeah. Like I said before, I think the team that he might still be interested in playing for and would actually be a tremendous fit for right now, the Atlanta Braves, and I think they can settle on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, LaRoche kind of came back to Washington. Soriano tried to go back to the Yankees. I could see Bourne going back to Atlanta after testing all his options out. And that would be perfect for them, moving Prado to third to fill in for the now retired Chipper Jones.
Yeah.
So I think it would be between Atlanta and New York Yankees. Probably the best two fits at the moment. Next question. Come on, guys, just keep sending in your questions. If we haven't answered them already, we will answer them now.
Other than Bourne, who's the best free agent available?
Best free agent available right now?
Yeah.
Who's left? Soriano got picked up.
Kyle Loesch.
Kyle Loesch. I'm not sold on Kyle Loesch. I've been a Cardinals fan, and I think he did some incredible things in St. Louis. He's 35, right? He's 35?
No, I think younger.
Let me double check on that. But, I mean, he's a good pitcher. I don't think that he's the
34.
34. Yeah, he'll be 35. Okay, so 34. He's a good pitcher. He didn't have a remarkable start to his career, but
No.
I mean, some pitchers do well at their old age. Some pitchers don't. He could definitely help his
as far
team
as
out.
I know, as far as I'm seeing, actually in his stats, he's a product of a tremendous pitching staff and system out in St. Louis, because his
Yeah.
best numbers come from St. Louis. So,
I don't really value him outside of that environment. I mean, St. Louis is such a tight-knit, friendly environment, voted by the players as the best environment to play in. I mean, that's kind of a. I don't think that he's a. I don't think he's a top pitching prospect out there. I probably would say a healthy Sean Markham's a better pitcher
yeah,
outside of the St. Louis environment. Relievers Brian Wilson, I don't think he's ready to come back to a major league team yet. Not if the Mets don't think that he's worthy of pitching again for them, I don't think he's ready. But I'd probably say Markham after Bourne. On the hitting side, I don't really know how many people are left. Catchers are pretty much done. Toolbox. And I think you're muted too. But, okay, Jared, next question.
yeah, Markham is still available. Sorry, I was just checking that. We've already touched up on best bullpen in the majors.
Cincinnati, yeah.
Yeah, Cincinnati. This is an odd one. Do you guys believe Posada is not planning a comeback?
He can't field. He is old. He might play in the Puerto Rican League in the winter. Maybe even play for the World Baseball Classic team, if whatever. But I can't see him making a comeback to the major leagues or any team wanting him back. And I don't think he would want to be with any other team.
Yeah.
And even if the Yankees need a catcher, I don't think they'll re-sign him. But you never know.
I mean, at this point, why would anyone want him back? He's
gonna play,
kind of
what,
dropped
3
off in
years?
his past. Yeah, in his past two years, the last 2 years of his career, his numbers dropped off considerably.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's pretty much done. Only thing that could be anything is that he's a fresh face back in a lineup.
If you can consider that a fresh phase.
Well, I mean, they don't know they can look it up, but they don't have past 2-year tendencies for young pitchers to beat him with. So I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's worth it for any team. Just trying to think of something to possibly make sense for him to come back, but I don't think he has a reason. I think he just embarrassed himself like Manny Ramirez did.
In your opinion, who should sign Kyle Loge?
That's any team who needs a pitcher who's willing to spend $11 million. Teams that need a pitcher, the Rangers are pretty much set on their rotation. They were in need. The Mets kind of want to rebuild, so I don't think that they're an option. What's that face for?
Rangers are bringing in, what was it, Robbie something out of their pen to fill in that rotation. They're not set in their rotation.
Well, I think it's more that they want to give him a shot, not that they are resulting in
No,
it.
they've done this 3 times now. C.J. Wilson, Neftali Feliz, and now Robbie.
Well, if it's worked, I mean, why not try it? If they see the signs that he's going to be a good starter, they might as well give him the ball, test him out.
But that doesn't mean that their rotation is set.
No, I mean, but I don't think signing Kyle Loesch would do them any good if they want to test this kid out.
It would give them a 5th starter to work with.
They have if they want to use Robbie as the 5th starter, you're not just going to say they're not going to pull the Seattle Seahawks and just bench a guy that they spent $11 million on. they're going to keep him in that rotation. They have 4 other starters. So, I mean, and Colby Lewis is going to be coming back. They have him on the roster.
Right.
So he'll be that 5th when he comes back, which will probably, I think they said, mid-June. So if they can use Robbie until then, I don't think that they need Kyle Loesch for the money that they'll be spending.
Considering we've talked so extensively about the Blue Jays for like the past, 6 weeks, I think a little extra depth doesn't hurt anyone.
Well, it doesn't hurt, but if they want Robbie to be a starter now, they don't want to put him off. I mean, yes, he
gives
can
them options. That's what I'm saying. It gives them options, and their rotation is in no way set.
That is true. I mean,
it's definitely a possibility that they could look his way, but will they? Is the more rational question to be asking here. And
I'd rather have Markham.
I think they'll be looking his way, closer towards the spring training when his price starts to drop.
I'd rather have Markham. Well, AL experience when he played for the Jays. Very good.
The problem with Markham is you're worried about his health.
Yeah, but last season
you just got to worry about whether or not he is just a product of the St. Louis pitching staff.
Yeah, and I'm not willing to pay $11 million for that risk. So, for a team that would be willing, I don't really know. I mean, the fact that he's still here this long says something. That there aren't that many teams that are.
Well, like I pointed out last time, Kyle Loesch has a lot of baggage attached to him in terms of purses for the new CBA and the draft, the amateur draft. So a lot of teams may not be willing to pay that extra money, not only to his contract but to the St. Louis Cardinals draft picks.
You think he'd go back to St. Louis?
I think it's a possibility. He might end up signing a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I could see that, and
I can't see him getting his 3 or 4 year deal now.
No, not at the age of 34.
No, he would have gotten it before if
with all the strings attached, plus his age, plus that he's done so well in St. Louis alone. I think that's kind of I wouldn't be willing to give him a 3 or 4 year deal just for. I don't know. I think Markham's health is keeping him on the market, but I think that he has a lot more going for him for any team, and I don't think he's going to go back to Milwaukee. I think Loesch is more likely to.
Yeah, I'm not sure because it's kind of hard to gauge exactly what the Brewers front office is thinking financially in terms of how to manage this team and the contracts that they're handing out. So it's tough to gauge whether or not if there even is interest in whatever Markham could cost them. So obviously the easier pick here is Loesch is more likely to go back to St. Louis than Markham is to go back to Milwaukee. And
Markham, he's how old is he? Markham, he is 30 years old.
Yeah.
He has pitched pretty much consistently. Last season he had some health problems. He had 33 starts in 2011, 31 in 2010. 25 in 08, and 25 out of 38 games in 07. That was his first starting season, not full starting season. He had a weak year last year in terms of how long he was on the mound, only 21 starts. But he's a consistent about 3.5, 3.6 ERA type guy, going back to the American League with some good pitching. I mean, I could see him going to a lot of places that need a solid 3 or 4 pitcher. I wouldn't put him at a 2.
I would.
I think he's borderline 2. I'd say he's borderline, but I would definitely say a safe 3. Depending on the team, of course.
Right. Just get into some best division, AL West or AL East.
Has to be the East.
I mean, you got a really good argument for the West right now. The Mariners are shaping up in a big way. Sure, they still have a lot of questions about whether Jason Bay is going to perform. Raul Ibanez, if healthy, can he still kind of produce? Given what he did with the Yankees for the majority of the season, the A's, you have to wonder whether or not they'll still have any magic, or if these young players that they had only flared up for that one season, that one magical season. The Rangers got a lot weaker, and then you have the addition of the Astros, who are, let's face it, just outright terrible right now, and they're going to be terrible for a long while.
Yeah, they have one small glimmer of hope, and he's 5'4". I think AL East is a better division. So
yeah,
I mean, it's kind of straightforward. There are 5 teams that in any other division could possibly win that division. So
yeah, I agree with that.
I think they'll knock each other's overall records down. I think that'll be one division that you can't just say, if they get 85 wins and win that division, you can't say they're the worst team out of the playoff teams, because they're so consistent 1 through 5 in that division. There's 1 or 2 pieces per team that could change the entire standings. So, I mean, I think that's pretty much that. I think AL East is by far stronger.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting question. I think this is more for during the middle of spring training, but let's see if we can tackle it now. Which hitter in the AL and NL will have the highest batting average?
AL and NL.
NL, I think Braun.
I don't. I think it's going to be Posey again. No, Posey didn't have it last year. McCutcheon had it last year, right?
Right. I think so.
I think Posey could have it. Very consistent hitter, protection around him. He can hit all fields. Doesn't need to necessarily drive it with power. He's a good line drive contact hitter along with some good power to him. I think if Braun's team is struggling, that he'll try to hit more long balls. It's going to hurt his average. I think Posey, with the protection around him, will be able to get some nice shots in here and there and definitely get his average up and take that crown. Jared, NL, and then we'll move on to the AL.
I've always contested it's still too early to be thinking this way, but I wouldn't rule out Braun. He is a really strong, consistent hitter. Posey, definitely interesting. McCutcheon, I don't know if he can repeat what he did last year. I think that was just him being red hot in a situation where he was basically the only hitter that a lot of teams just kind of fell asleep on, because he had that one really bad season.
Yeah. He definitely showed some amazing power.
I could see if we get a healthy throughout the entire season, Matt Kemp. He's definitely one guy that you can't sleep on. I think he's definitely got the ability to be a consistent hitter, and with power, no less.
But can he be healthy this year?
Well, you always got to assume that people are going to be healthy when they're going into their seasons. Otherwise, there's no point in even taking risks on guys at all. You got to assume that they're going to be healthy. Another interesting one would be Andre Ethier. Ethier's always been a really consistent hitter. The power's fluctuated a lot up and down, but for the most part, he is very good in being a contact hitter.
Yeah.
So and that kind of helps out the Dodgers, that they have 2 consistent hitters that not only can be consistent with contact, but can potentially be consistent with power. So definitely some interesting options. A lot from the West.
Let's go on to
the AL.
Yeah.
The AL is a lot more interesting because you have a lot more power hitters that have kind of demonstrated for a couple of years now that they can not only be consistent with power but consistent in contact. Miguel Cabrera comes to mind. You got Albert Pujols, Mike Trout's coming up and demonstrating that he can hit for some power as well.
I'll tell you mine. Victor Martinez.
Coming back from injury?
Still? Back from injury. One of the best contact hitters in baseball. But one of the best. With the protection of Fielder and of Cabrera in that lineup, he'll be getting a lot of opportunities to just get singles, get on base, help drive in runs. I can see him getting a lot of runs this year too. I think he'll be healthy. I think he'll be a good hitter. He's a switch hitter. He'll be playing a lot. I think he'll come out with maybe a 340 average. Very high hopes on him.
You think he'll bat second this year?
No. Probably fifth, maybe. Right behind them. Because they'll walk him and then he'll get a single down the line. He'll definitely do damage.
Yeah,
He's
you're
not
going
a
to
lot of
see a lot
speed.
more pitches because he'll be in that fifth hole, but it's questionable whether or not he'll have any protection behind him that he'll be able to be able to hit in those situations because they might have an out to play with behind him.
They have Torrey Hunter, who will probably bat sixth.
Oh, that's right. They did get Torrey Hunter. I completely
They
forgot
have
about him.
Ajax
So yeah,
first.
there's a lot of protection around him now.
They have Ajax first. I don't know who they'll put second. They might put Peralta second if he's still there. They'll have probably Fielder, then Cabrera, then V-Mart, then Torrey, then their catcher, who probably will be Avila. And then they'll have Brandon Bosch, maybe,
Brendan Bosch, yeah.
and whoever they have at second base, rounding out the order. So
Definitely some good options there.
So you think that he could be the average leader?
Nah.
Who would you take over him? Get Mo in there.
I could definitely take Cabrera. I could definitely take Pujols. I can't fall asleep on Pujols, even though this past 2 years the numbers have slipped. Trout's definitely a guy you can look at. I think we can expect a big breakout year from Jesus Montero.
Really? With the protection of Morse around him and with some and Morales, you really think that he'll have a breakout year?
Well, McCutchen did it with almost nothing around him, so I can't.
He's also a speed guy.
True, but he's not a slap hitter. He hits for pretty good power.
That is true, but he didn't prior. He wasn't a
No, he's a 5-tool player for a reason. He has power.
He didn't show it though. I mean, they knew it was there, but he wasn't hitting for power at least before this past season. I remember watching a lot of games. I think what did he have, like 19 home runs a year, 2 years ago? 30 this year.
The past 2 seasons, over 20 home runs.
Okay. Well, but do you think that Jesus Montero's on his level?
Not at all, but offensively, he's a very strong hitter.
They are moving the fences in Seattle, so I mean that definitely will benefit him.
I think he could still find gaps. He has that kind of power that he can find gaps. With the fences pulled in, I think that's just going to help out his home run figures, and that's definitely not a bad thing. And dead air.
Okay, Mo, how about you?
Anyway, I would say Trout, but I need to see one more good full season of him, see if pitchers can figure him out or whatever.
Fair.
I could definitely see Cabrera repeating. He's definitely probably the best player in the MLB right now. And Miguel Cabrera, probably.
Do you think because Josh Hamilton has motivation and support around him this year, knowing that he is set for a while, do you think Hamilton could hit the way he did early on in the season consistently without getting bored? Which was more my preference.
I think it'll take him a little bit of time to adjust, but I think once he gets in the groove, he'll be hitting just like Josh Hamilton does all the time.
Do you think he could take that average crown?
I don't think the first year.
Okay. And Jared, what do you think?
I already laid out pretty much all my arguments.
Well, with Hamilton being Hamilton, do you think that he could?
Hamilton's always going to be Hamilton. I think it's just a matter of whether or not he'll remain healthy. That's always been a bit of a question.
Okay. So you're pulling a double standard on. You expect Kemp to be healthy, and then you don't. Whether it's
no, I expect Hamilton to be healthy all season long. I'm just wondering whether or not he will remain healthy moving forward, because he's still going to play the outfield, and that's always been a big concern for Texas. moving forward. They always thought switching him to DH would kind of help with whatever health issues he's been suffering with for the longest while. I think
He'll get time at DH this year.
Yeah, and with him batting in the 4-hole instead of the 3-hole, might get a little tricky for him because they can still kind of pitch around him to get to the Trumbo. Yeah, and
who
as much as I'm high on Trumbo, he doesn't have that reputation yet to where people are going to be thinking, well, I might as well try and get Josh Hamilton out now while I still can, as opposed to trying to get to Trumbo.
Yeah, I think Trumbo. I think he's the lesser of two evils by far in between him and Hamilton. So
well, you still got you still have to pick your poisons after all. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
it
depends on who's on the ground. He's a righty. Hamilton's a lefty.
Yeah.
I mean, so it all depends on the situation. But okay. Next question. That was a nice long.
Yeah. Do you think the Rockies can have a good season without injury problems?
No.
They don't have the pitching for it.
I think they'll have injury problems. I think Helton's going to be hurt. He's getting old. I think Tulo is going to overextend himself and possibly get hurt again. It was a very unfortunate wrist break that he suffered. What was it, 2 years ago? That just neutralized his power for the rest of that season. But you can't say that any team's going to be healthy the entire season. Whether you expect it or not, you can say that you expect every individual player to be healthy, but you can't expect an entire organization to stay healthy.
Well, it's not a matter of expecting. It's you go in with the anticipation that everyone will be healthy.
Yeah, but you also have to have.
Of course, you have to be realistic that not everyone's going to remain healthy. So you always have your contingency plans. But
I mean, if you're the Phillies, you expect everyone to be out by mid-April. But besides that, I mean, I think the Rockies are going to have a horrible season again. They have some good power. They'll get a few wins. They'll knock a few teams down a little bit with some good power numbers and cores. Horrible pitching overall. They're not going to have a good season. Injuries or not.
Well, me being the resident Rockies fan, I can already tell you, healthy or not, they're going to struggle just because they have no pitching.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just the bottom line of it.
Mode, anything else?
I agree with that. I mean, they definitely need to add a pitcher or two if they want to have any hope of even getting like third place in that division. So they're definitely, injuries or not, healthy or not, they're not going to do well.
Yeah. Okay, next question.
Real quick, best and worst outfields in baseball.
From a stadium standpoint, I think Houston has the worst outfield.
Well, let's just try and focus on the players themselves. Offensively, you have a bit of an argument as to which team could be considered the worst offensively with their outfield.
Miami's a very good outfield with Stanton and Rutigliano.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who the third is on that. But Astros have nobody. They have J.D. Martinez, they have Bogusevic, and they have a third player I don't even know. I mean, with that stadium is just horrible to outfielders to begin with. Just with that very short porch in left, with the right field just whatever that is, and then with the outcut into the train tracks all the way to 441 in center field. It's just a massacre out there for anybody who plays there. I mean, it's just ugly, horrible, beautiful train though. I think Houston has a horrible outfield. I think San Diego, they have Cameron Maybin. I think that's it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's really tough to kind of gauge players that are for the most part still prospects and are only getting their first kind of tastes of the big leagues. So I'm willing to give J.D. Martinez a pass because he's still very extremely young.
Yeah.
It's tough. Like I said, there's an argument to be had here for the Astros offensively, their outfield. And then you have San Diego, who as an entire unit always struggle.
It's kind of hard really saying the worst because they're all professional baseball players. I mean, they all have had enough skill to make it to this level, whether it be through scouting or the eyes of each organization. There are some that have one outfielder who can make their outfield, like right now, the way Atlanta looks. They have now two. Before they had Upton, they had just Jason Hayward, and that was a pretty good outfield just with him.
It was just serviceable.
It was serviceable, and it wasn't the worst. It was nowhere near the worst because Hayward's a good player. But they're probably, I think the Twins probably could have the worst. They have Willingham and prospects at the moment, right? They trade away Span, they trade away Revere.
They still have Trevor Plouffe.
I thought he plays infield.
No, I don't believe so.
I thought he was a third baseman. But, I mean, Twins, they're defensively, they have very poor outfield if Plouffe or whatever you pronounce his name is infielder. But I think Houston, San Diego, really.
What about the Mets?
There's another one that you can
Lucas
put on
Duda is a good
category.
player. Dude is a good player.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it. I mean, you have Neuenhuis, but
Kirk
he was
Neuenhuis.
only good for a few weeks
Neuenhuis
last
is
year.
Fourth outfielder at best.
Yeah, he's a fourth, but I mean, he's at least a decent player. They have Valdespin, who he can perform.
Very streaky.
Yeah, but he definitely can perform. He has good range out there. I would put them towards the bottom of the barrel, probably bottom 5. But I'd say Twins, Mets, Padres, Astros, and one more random team in there. Maybe the Phillies. They really, well, not now with Revere.
What's got Revere?
But Mayberry and Brown,
No,
they don't have Victorino anymore. I mean, they're hurting. So, I don't know.
that's who it is. This is Mastrioni they got in center right now, the Twins.
Okay, so. Next question.
Well, we didn't go over the best.
Oh, best. Okay.
Angels.
Angels would be number 1 in my opinion. 3 guys who could hit in the middle of your order, who can, fielding wise, Trumbo's not the best. We know Trout, and Hamilton is not in center anymore. I think he'll be a better fielder. Besides them, Colorado has a pretty good outfield. Cargo and Fowler and whoever they have can right. I think the Padres have Brad Hopp out in the outfield. I'm not positive. I feel like he's still...
Brad Hopp just signed with the Pirates.
Okay. I thought I saw it recently with the Padres, but okay. Pirates? Okay.
Was it the Padres?
I think that's the only point where the Tigers are lacking. They have Jackson, they have Bosch, but I wouldn't put that at top outfield, put that middle of the pack, but their infield is very strong and their pitching is very strong. You guys jump in. Any other?
Nationals?
No.
Harper, Span.
Worth?
I'm not. I mean, I could live with it, but it's definitely not
one of the best.
Not one of the best. I won't even. I don't even think I could put a top 5 just yet.
I actually might put the Yankees towards the bottom. Granderson has great range. His hitting is borderline, as we've discussed many times. Ichiro's getting old, and Gardner's coming off of injury, healthy, but he didn't have the best arm to begin with, and I don't know, I wouldn't put them... hitting-wise, Ichiro can perform. I put them in the middle. I can't say... I know that was a shot at the Yankees at the beginning of that statement, but once I started thinking more about overall, I think I'll put them more in the middle. They do need to improve it, though. Cardinals, Holiday, Jay, and
Beltran. Yeah.
Those 3 all could hit 300, all have good range.
Definitely a top 5.
Holiday's a decent fielder. If he can ever catch a straight-on fly ball.
But you can live with it.
Yeah, I definitely can live with it, especially for those average numbers. Exceptionally.
If Chu stays healthy, what about the Reds? You would have Chu, Jay Bruce, and Ludwig.
I don't like Ludwig as a fielder. I really don't. I'd put him on an AL team and make him a DH. Just I don't trust his fielding. Bruce, he's a good fielder, and Chu, he's pretty good. Hitting wise, Ludwig's a 265 hitter. Bruce, his average fluctuates, and Chu, he's about a 290 hitter ish. Definitely a top 10. I wouldn't put them higher. I think San Francisco. What?
I was going to remind everyone about the Atlanta Braves, even without Michael Bourne being signed.
They need a left fielder. If they have Prado there, they're top 5.
Yeah, you
With
can
Bourne,
still
they'll
live
be
with
a
Prado
top-
there, regardless. You know.
Either way, they'll be a top 5. San Francisco, Pence, Pagan, and who would they have in right? Torres? Or
Probably.
no, who would they have in right? They have Belt at first. They have
Gregor Blanco.
Gregor Blanco.
Right.
I can live with that. I'd say that's a top 10.
Dodgers also. If Crawford can stay healthy.
And we're going to presume that he is. On paper, they have a very good outfield with Crawford, Ethier, and Kemp.
I think
So-
if healthy, that's a top 3 right there.
Victorino's still a free agent, right?
No, Victorino
Red
already
Sox.
signed with the Red
Red
Sox.
Okay. So, okay, I think we should move on to the next question. I think we pretty much covered that. Dodgers, Cardinals, and Braves top 3 outfields. So.
See, outside of the corrections of Trevor Plouffe being a third baseman and then a utility guy, the expectations for Jason Hayward this season,
280, 25, maybe 78 runs, 90 RBI.
Yeah, that's fair.
Increasing walks, decreasing strikeouts a little bit, and some good outfield assists. Good numbers for an improving player.
I think now we could see him actually breaking 90 RBIs.
Yeah.
I think he can make the adjustments needed to become that kind of hitter.
I think BJ Upton will definitely help him in that lineup too. So
I'm still not sold on Upton, but
I think he'll help him more than
yeah,
what they could have had without him. And Prado's the consistent best two-strike hitter in baseball.
yeah.
McCann, he'll hopefully have a good season for them. Ugla, if he hits over 200, it'll be a successful season because he'll put up the power numbers. Brooks Conrad, if he plays, he can do stuff. And Simmons and Freddie Freeman, they have a good team around the board. So I think he has some good protection around him. He has some good players who will get on base. And I think as he keeps improving, everything else will go up around him. Next question.
Let's see what else do we have here. I'm not even going to touch that one because that's a silly question. What do you feel about the Napoli deal and how long it took them to come to a deal?
Some things we don't know about is wrong. Whether he isn't healthy enough, whether he wasn't in good shape, whatever it was. I mean, he pulled out of the deal at the first point, right?
I don't remember.
Something happened that their deal of 3 or 39 million collapsed.
Yeah, there was a problem with his hip.
And if it's that serious that they're only going to offer him 1 year, $5 million, cutting down just 1 year by $8 million, and then taking off the other 2, I don't think there's options or anything. I think it's just 1 year, 5. I think it shows that the Red Sox are not willing to risk it with Saltalamacchia there, and they're building up some players who have shown good numbers over the past, like Steven Drew and Victorino and whatever. They're building up around a team that's centered around Ellsbury and Pedroia and Ortiz. And I think that they're trying to get in anybody who can bargain chip. And I think with a lingering hip injury or with any type of injury that could prevent Napoli from even being signed by a team, I think they're doing something. They're taking a big contract and big risk into a favor to Napoli for 1 year, $5 million. Jared, what is your take?
Well, I've already said it earlier. I think there's something wrong with everything. If Napoli can't get a better deal than Russell Martin, who for most of 2012 stunk.
Yeah, he had a horrible season. I pity the Yankees on that one, but
Yankees weren't the ones that signed him.
no, for past season, Jared, pity them for having him playing so badly.
What do they care? They still got their wins with or without him.
Would have helped if they had a better hitting catcher. But
how much more could it have helped? They made playoffs.
Maybe they could have actually won out of the second round instead of getting swept by Detroit.
Hitting wasn't their problem. Pitching was.
Either way, I think it would have. Any addition to a team can help.
Right. Okay. Moving on. Well, might as well tackle this one. How do you think the Rangers will do next season?
Third place.
Third or fourth. Okay. Next question. Or Jared, are you going to come in here and say they're going to finish worse than the Astros?
I'm a realist, not a complete moron. How about the Indians?
Fourth.
Yeah.
Royals are going to make a push towards third, maybe even second. I think White Sox are going to be right with them, and Tigers are going to take that division by storm. And Twins, like you said previously, they just found out they need pitching, so they traded hitting for it, and they're going to suffer.
I'm not sold on the Indians being fourth. I'm not sold on the Royals having enough to actually make a push to be third.
They have a lot of talent offensively.
Yeah.
They're only
No
weak
denying that.
with pitching, and they did get pitching. They got Shields, they got Davis. I know they're not your top picks for pitchers to get, but there's still a market out there. They still have money because who do they sign really in free agency? They traded the number 3 prospect in baseball, Will Myers, to the Rays. Loesch and Markham are still out on the market if they're willing to spend anything, which they really haven't spent much. I mean, I think they're going to try to make one more pitching move before this offseason is over. And the Indians are a very streaky team. They just gave up Chu. They have a lot of pieces together.
They got back Drew Stubbs for Chu, so they got younger.
Stubbs
signed Swisher.
They signed Swisher. They have Terry Francona. They have they still have Grady Sizemore, right?
No, Sizemore's a free agent.
He's a free agent.
Such a waste of a talent.
Yeah, when healthy, he was the best center field option over why can't I remember this scrub's name from New York now? Curtis Granderson, Herpaderp.
Yeah, so
But I think what a lot of people are kind of forgetting about is they do have Ubaldo Jimenez, and if they can get him right, he can pitch extremely well. They have Justin Masterson, who proved, for an entire season that he can stay in the rotation and be a solid number 2.
He can be a masterful pitcher. He could be a number 1 when he's on.
I wouldn't go that far.
I've seen him put up numbers in a few game stretch when they had Derek Lowe right at the beginning of last season.
Yeah, he's gone now.
Really well, and then everything collapsed for them. But they do have a Struble. They do have Carlos Santana, who's a very powerful switch hitting catcher. Francona as the new manager will give them life. The field is not the most helpful. They don't have Fausto Carmona, I don't think. I think he's suspended for having the fake name and all that.
Regardless, but what Carmona is at best a number 3.
Yeah, but that's still depth to a team. But
right, but
they re-signed Chris Perez.
Yeah.
They have a lot going for them. Whether they can stay consistent, I don't know. I think
that's going to be the issue moving forward, whether they can be consistent. But if you can get some really solid outings from this starting rotation, I mean they did make a lot of questionable moves at the start. I mean, with the Mark Reynolds signings, I was totally against upon its inception. But they added upon that to make Mark Reynolds seem like they had an idea, they had a strategy, and they're pulling it off. I mean, they managed to swindle Trevor Bauer off the Diamondbacks.
Yeah. Do they still have Hafner, or is he a free agent?
He's a free agent.
Okay, so Reynolds replaces that completely, and he can.
They have him listed here as their first baseman.
He can play first and he can play third. Santana can catch and can play first if they need it. Even though I don't know if he would. They have good players across the diamond. They have Laffey, right?
No, I believe the Blue Jays had him last.
Okay. They definitely have a good team, but they have a lot of moving parts. And I think that chemistry factor will be a little bit of a hard thing for them. They've gotten a lot of players. They've done some trades, made some signings. I'd rather take a Royals team that has traded for 2 pitchers with a very solid core hitting, with Moustakas, with Hosmer, with Lorenzo Cain, with Alex Gordon, with just all these players. I'd rather have them. I think that they have a better chance of meshing and playing well over an Indians team that has had a lot of consistency problems, even though they've gained a good amount of pieces. I think they're going to be a good team in the next 2-3 years. I think they'll make the Central a legitimate division again after 1 and 2, but I don't think that they'll be able to pull out of that 4-hole.
I'm just not sold on it.
Mo, get in here.
For the Indians, definitely a 4th place team. I don't think they'll dip below 4, but I don't think they'll get above 4 either.
Okay, what do you say their record's going to be at, guys? Think they'll break 81 wins?
No.
I think that'll be tough for anyone in that division right now.
Besides, of course, Chicago and Detroit.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Chicago might even falter down a little bit.
No, I still see them at least a 500 team.
It's going to be the Tigers and then a mesh of 4 bad teams next year.
I think you mean 3 above average.
I think there's only one bad team in that entire division right now. I think we can all agree it's the Twins.
Oh, I was going to say the Tigers, but okay.
You said bad.
Yes, I'm kidding. I think the Twins are going to be one of those potential 100-loss teams. So, okay, next question.
Where will Stanton go?
I think he'll stay in Miami.
He's going to go to the strip club every night and drown his sorrows like Jared wants to do every show.
Yeah.
And just deal with it because he's going to have to until they deal him. And he's there for under contract for 4 more years. Bless the man's soul. As soon as the contract comes up, they're going to deal him.
As far as I'm concerned, the Marlins, they say they're not actively trying to ship him, but they've been open to listening to deals upon him. And of course, that phone's got to be ringing off the hook with a lot of teams, trying to figure out what it's going to take to get Stanton on their ball club. It's just a matter of whether or not the Marlins will pull the trigger and take the half-chewed bubble gum and wrapper with it, to send him out, because we've already seen what they've done with Miguel Cabrera and terrible fucking deal.
Beckett and Burnett and Willis, which they got the better deal of that one, and now with Reyes and with everybody.
I mean, they've been selling off pieces, for years now and getting almost nothing.
They've been selling like somebody just landed on the boardwalk and they're $10 trillion in debt. They need to just sell off everything for minimum value.
Yeah, because again, they're just trying to turn a profit on this organization. The Laureates just do not give a fuck about winning.
And that is counterintuitive to baseball, but it's fantastic for every team around them who can get talent and shit on the Marlins every night.
Yeah, the Marlins have proven that they can be a professional quadruple A team, and no one seems to care.
Yeah.
All right.
Say something down the road, but I don't know. I don't think he's willing to step in at all. Helps baseball, every other team.
All right. A quick note: the Mets did sign Aaron Laffey. I saw that about 5 minutes ago, and I was going to bring it up, but I completely forgot. So interesting. Any thoughts on that before I pick up the next question?
The Mets have a history of taking old pitchers and suddenly making them great again. Like, they did pretty well with Capuano, with Dickey obviously being the biggest one. I don't think that'll happen with Laffey, but I think it's an okay signing. It's not great, but it's not terrible either.
They helped Ollie come out of Pittsburgh, which he needed.
Ollie had talent.
He did, but he was 3-13 in Pittsburgh before he came to the Mets, and that's just disgraceful. I know record doesn't say everything, but
record doesn't say anything about the pitcher's ability. It says more about the team's ability to hit behind their pitcher.
They did help him a bit. The Mets get that step forward. I'm not sold on anything the Mets do anymore. I think they're in a process of rebuilding. If they get talent, fantastic. I'd like to see it on the field. I just want to see players healthy on the field doing something.
I think we're going to see a healthy Aaron Laffey.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see if they're going to go with him in a different role than what I suspect should be his role, which is the long man.
Yeah.
He can produce out of the bullpen. He proved that in Seattle, despite the fact that he still was just giving up a ton of hits.
Yeah.
So I can live with it for what we're going to be doing this next season. So
for the Mets' sake, should they re-get Ray Ordonez? Just need a middle infielder who can have a perfect glove. Bunch of pitchers
we have Miguel Tejada.
Just next question. Yeah. I know who the Mets have.
Let's see. If the Phillies had a healthy season, would they win the World Series?
No.
No way. I think they would make the playoffs. I don't think they win the World Series, though.
I'd like to see Howard and Utley. It's been so long since they've been healthy that I don't know what they look like healthy. That's how horrible their health problems have been. Their outfield, they have Revere. They have Mayberry. They have Brown. Weak outfield. Their pitching, it's older. Roy Halladay, he needs a bounce back year. So does Cliff Lee. They both did decently. They can improve on it. They didn't pitch like they used to. Papelbon, good closer. Very good closer. The bullpen around him, decent. Carlos Ruiz is suspended for 50 games. That'll hurt them. Healthy season or not, I think that they have a chance at playoffs. I can't see them winning a World Series, though.
Right. Need I remind you that the only season so far that we've seen Ryan Howard completely just nullified due to injury was just this past season?
Yes.
Okay.
I know.
All right. So
he had 250 the year before that. Great power numbers, horrible average, decent on base.
Well, that's what Ryan Howard's supposed to do. He's not supposed to get 150 plus hits.
Well, we have to look at his rookie season then. He did a lot in 2/3 of a season in his rookie season.
Yeah, I'm seeing his rookie season numbers here. Very good rookie season numbers.
Yeah, but pitchers figure out hitters after a while, though.
Yeah. My thing is, with Howard, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a guy that has enough raw power to put the ball anywhere in play and drive in runs because of it.
Yeah. Utley's a good hitter, very good hitter.
Utley was one of the best second base hitters I think we've seen the past decade. behind Jeff Kent, of course. Him healthy would definitely help their ability, their chances of making playoffs.
Yeah,
And with
speed, good glove, good power.
yeah,
Rollins.
and with the acquisitions that they had this offseason, and that rotation still being Halliday, Lee, and Hamels,
Yeah.
you definitely have a lot of depth there that I think it's kind of insane to say, healthy or not, they may not win a World Series. I think last year, had they been healthy, they probably would have made playoffs and probably could have had enough of a push to actually do something to make the World Series, considering we just saw a St. Louis Cardinals that had no bullpen make it to the championship series. We saw a Giants team that just lost their best offensive hitter in Melky Cabrera because of a PED test, completely out of nowhere, and prove that they can be offensive threats to just about any team that they were placed up against.
They still had a lot of talent around them, but yes, continue.
Right, but I mean, the Phillies healthy would be a very dangerous team to contend with.
Would be a very dangerous team. The back end of that rotation, I'm not sold on. Their bullpen, besides Papelbon, not fully sold on, and their outfield, not really loving. So, but
right, I'm just going to spare myself the headache of explaining things to you right now, so we'll just move on. Which pitcher do you think has the best chance at winning 300 games?
Who's at the top at the moment? Well,
I'll look it up since that's what I do.
Pitchers on good teams have the best chance. That's enough said for that. From there, Jared, shut up. If you're not on a good team, it doesn't matter how good you pitch, how well you pitch. Look at Felix Hernandez. I mean, I know he's not the shining example of Clayton Kershaw.
I'm just going to cut you off here so I can give you the active leaders, so you can spare yourself the indignity of further embarrassing yourself by continuing that thought. Right now, Jamie Moyer, if he continues, 269 wins. Andy Pettit at 245. Roy Halladay at 199. Tim Hudson at 197. CC Sabathia, 191. They still have Livan Hernandez listed here, which is okay. Derek Lowe, I don't know why he's even listed anymore. Mark Burley at 174. Bartolo Colon at 171. It's going to be a while before we see any young pitchers under the age of 30 on this list.
I think Sabathia is the best bet.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
If he gets consistent wins, whether his ERA is good or not, he plays to the win, kind of like Jack Morris does. He's 32 years old. If he can get another, well, how many did he have?
191.
191, yeah.
If he gets 15 wins a season for the next 8 years, that'll put him at pretty much 300.
Well, let me just do the math real quick.
15, 30, 60.
I mean, we can pretty much chalk him up for 15 wins every season just because he plays with the Yankees.
15, 30.
How many seasons did you say?
8 seasons. Put him at 40.
That'll put him at 120 more wins.
So that'll put him at
He'll have it, yeah.
That'll put him at over 300. So if he pitches till 40, stays with the Yankees, and gets 15 wins a season, which he's averaging, what, I think 18 right now a season with them? About 17, 18, I think it was.
Closer to 16, but we'll
16?
see.
Okay, so 16 even for 8 seasons, he'll get there. I think he's probably the best bet for that.
All right, I'll tell you his numbers right now. 2009, 19 and 8. 2010, 21 and 7. 2011, 19 and 8, and last season, 15 and 8.
Okay, so it's probably about 17, 18.
Probably, yeah, closer to 17.
So on the Yankees, 17, 18 wins. He'll get there if he stays healthy. He has good work ethic. They show a special on him. He works his ass off during the season and off season. He's a workhorse. He plays for the win. I think he'll get it, barring any injuries, of course. He is a big guy, so we don't know how his body will hold up as he gets older, but I think he's probably the best bet out of any of those pitchers. What do you think about overall pitching talent in the major leagues right now?
In terms of what?
Who do you think would get to 300 wins? Any age.
My bet would probably be on Verlander of the under 30 club.
Okay. Mo?
I was going to say Sabathia.
What about besides him?
Um, if Felix just got traded to a better team, I think he would most likely get it.
How old is he? 25? 24?
Yeah, he's really young.
I think he might be turning 26 this season.
26? I mean, it seems like he's been in the league forever.
He has been. He's been pitching since 19, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean,
he's definitely got a leg up in the competition if he can just get some wins under his damn belt.
I think
Yeah.
Kershaw can do it.
Kershaw is definitely a good candidate.
Kershaw went on a private flight with Sandy Koufax and Koufax got off the flight and said, "This man is the most talent-wise like me that I've seen in the past 50 years."
He's definitely showed that the past couple of years.
I mean, what did he win? 17, 18 games on a losing Dodgers team? He and
Yeah.
Kim almost got Cy Young MVP together on a losing team. I mean,
Yeah, and his ERA has been like 2.6 the past 2 years also.
yeah, he's been a very dominant pitcher. Lefty definitely has a lot of potential to him as he's shown, and he's even getting better, which is incredible considering how good of a pitcher he is to begin with. I think CC's the best one right now, then Verlander, then Felix, then Kershaw, in order of who's going to get to 300 out of active pitchers. Next question.
This is an interesting one to kind of mull over. Will Jamie Moyer make it to the Hall of Fame?
That's a good question.
If Morris doesn't, I don't think Moyer will. What's
I'm actually
Moyer's
looking up his
lifetime?
numbers now
406?
to kind of see what we have here.
Lifetime 406 ERA, around there?
Lifetime 4.25 ERA, 269 to 209 record.
Just because he pitched till he was 49 years old doesn't mean that he was worthy. If it was, Julio Franco would make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, if we're doing it based on how many years of service you put into the league, then Moyer's a first-class Hall of Famer all around.
100% ballot, but he's not the talent that
Not very
belongs
good.
in the Hall of Fame.
These numbers actually stink.
Yeah,
In a lifetime 1.32 WHIP,
Oof.
none of my Hall of Fame.
That's
How about this question? Who has the worst front office?
Marlins. That's easy.
I love the lack of hesitation there because it's so absolutely fucking true. It's pitifully true.
next question. Just
Will Profar pan out?
I think eventually, yeah. I think this season he'll probably struggle, but I think in a few years he'll be.
he's not coming up till mid-season.
Mhm.
I don't see him starting with Andres on that team. I was thinking about this last night. If the Diamondbacks do a straight-up trade with Texas in late April or mid-season, Andres for Upton, Profar would get the starting job, Upton would get the center field job, and Andres would fill that hole that Willie Bloomquist is playing right now at shortstop. That would be my best bet for that team, and I think Profar there will do very well. I think he's a really, really good player. A lot of potential to him. He's young. He is the number one prospect for a reason. I mean, how many number one prospects really don't, bless you, pan out? But I mean,
Well, there's a list, but you know,
there is. But I mean, it's not football. It's not Jamarcus Russell and Ryan Leaf.
no, it's a lot worse with baseball because you don't really have a lot of people that can come to a true consensus on whether some guys are truly deserving of their number one overall draft pick stock.
That is true.
I mean,
I think he'll pan
there
out.
isn't a lot of stock in collegiate baseball anyway.
Yeah. Nowhere near as much as college football or basketball. in any.
And the reason for that is because we have a minor league system where guys have to go through in order to get to the big leagues, whereas in those other sports, especially with football, guys are pretty much guaranteed to start the very next season that they're drafted.
And yeah, especially number ones.
Yeah.
I mean, NBA, for some, they might go to the D League for a little bit, but for the most part, they're starting as well, or coming off the bench. But
yeah.
So, I think he's going to pan out. I think he's a good player, a lot of talent to him, has a little bit to polish. I think he could be an Elvis Andrus type player. I think he could actually bring a little bit more, a little bit faster.
Right. The only problem I had with everything you just said was Diamondbacks trading Upton straight up for Andrus. I don't think that they would ever pull that trigger. They need a pitcher thrown in that deal.
Well, I don't think he'll get one from Texas. That's the only problem.
They could get one from Texas. Texas would be willing to do that.
They would be willing to, but I think Texas might offer that straight up and see what the Diamondbacks are willing to do, considering the need for a good defensive and offensive shortstop. Andrus is a 300 hitter, great glove. He's improved a lot. Fast.
Yeah, but they feel they have a lot more in the package with Upton being controllable for the next 3 years.
True.
Andrus, I believe, only has another 2 years before he's arbitration eligible.
Yeah.
Maybe even one, I think.
Maybe. So with that being said, they might want to add more to that. But
yeah, definitely.
I think that definitely is a conceivable trade, having those two as the main pieces in a trade.
I've got to do this question. Most underrated and overrated player in Major League Baseball. Let's start with the overrated, please.
Go first. Speak your mind.
I have such a litany of names. Most of them Yankees, unfortunately, for our Yankee fans out there.
Go for it. Please rip.
Alex Rodriguez is probably still at my number one, but CC Sabathia is so close, so fucking close.
CC as overrated. Please elaborate.
Here's a guy that is. Granted, he is a workhorse. He will give you the innings throughout the entire season. But when it comes to these big games, and we're not just talking playoffs, we're talking about rivalry games where it could determine the outcome of your seeding going into the playoffs, or even your berth going into the playoffs. This man has a terrible, absolutely atrocious fucking lifetime ERA against the Boston Red Sox. It never matters. It never fucking matters what year we're talking about with the Red Sox. The Red Sox always seem to have his fucking number. He is terrible in the clutch against them.
That is true.
Absolutely terrible. And for considering how much he's paid, he should be able to at least put up decent numbers against them.
He's not even a clutch pitcher in general.
He's not.
He had a good stretch of 3 wins in 9 days for the Brewers, or 7 days, or something like that, a few years ago. But I agree, he's not a clutch pitcher. I think Teixeira is overrated. Great glove, I'll give him that. If you are a professional baseball player and you cannot hit to the opposite field when they put a shift on you, you do not belong getting paid that much money. I do not care If you can't
Carlos Delgado, David Ortiz, please shut the fuck up now, please.
They're lefties.
Stop.
They are straight lefties.
Doesn't matter. Here's the thing with Teixeira. And I'll grant you that he's overrated simply because this is something in his favor. He's a switch hitter. He should be able to, in any situation, have the matchup against a pitcher because he can switch to either side of the plate and hit. He's done this before. The problem is now, for some reason, since he's put on the pinstripes, he's gotten worse as a hitter. He's remained consistent with the glove, but offensively he stinks now. He'll still give you the power numbers you need, the RBIs, the home runs, the doubles. That's fine, but he cannot be a contact hitter anymore. He cannot get on base himself. I don't understand why. I root for the guy. I want him to be successful. Unfortunately, he stinks in pinstripes.
Yeah, he does. Absolutely.
But, Mo, you're overrated, please?
I'm sticking with the Yankees and saying Granderson. I mean, Granderson's only as good as Adam Dunn is. He'll hit 40 home runs, but only bat 250, 240. And
well, let's keep in mind the reason Granderson is even hitting 40 home runs, short porch, right field. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And that's the same with Teixeira with 25, 30 home runs too.
But you have to admit that Granderson, when he played for Detroit, was a triples machine.
Right.
Well, that's because the fence were like about a mile off from home plate, so
He does have the
plenty of time to get there.
out of the past 100 years, he's the most recent to get on anywhere near the top 5 in triples in a single season. I think he had 18 in 2008.
There is a comment here before we move on to underrated that I want to touch up on a little bit. I wouldn't agree with Jason Worth being overrated. I would agree that he is overpaid.
Yes,
Definitely.
that's a whole different animal.
Yeah. I mean, he's still a solid right-handed bat, that can fit in the middle of that order. But for what he's getting paid for, he should be doing a lot more.
Yeah, a lot more.
Underrated players. Let's hear them.
Underrated players. I don't. I'll think about it. One of you guys go.
I've got a few names in mind, and I'm trying to debate which one I would put as the most underrated right now. After this last season with McCutchen, I think I got to take him off my list. I think he's starting to get the praise that he's rightfully deserving of. For years, Justin Verlander was at the top of my list because, for whatever reason, a lot of writers, a lot of scouts, and a lot of fans just completely overlooked him until his Cy Young / MVP season.
Yeah.
So now it's a little more of a tough spot to figure out who's really that most underrated player right now that a lot of people are just kind of sleeping on. I think Ryan Braun is inching his way towards that list simply because a lot of people are still kind of hung up on that one failed drug test that he ended up proving was completely unfounded, completely in error, and the fact that a lot of people don't seem to think he's truly deserving of the MVP award that he won.
Would you consider Joey Votto underrated?
Yeah, I would.
Because if so, I'd put him on the top of my list without a doubt. I think Madison Bumgarner might be the number 2 because he is a phenomenal young pitcher. He performed very well in 2 different World Series, and he showed that he was well beyond his years when it came to pitching in clutch situations. But Votto, I think the entire focus on that team is Chapman. And I think that's very unfair to do to probably the best first baseman in the National League right now.
Yeah.
Somebody who has a really good glove, great power, great average, does a lot for that team. He's the team leader too. That entire Reds team is underrated on offense because, you say, wow, they have a really good bullpen. They have a great offense too. They have a great rotation too. They have Latos. They have Cueto, 2 guys who can both perform. Latos kind of shit the bed in Game 5 of the NLDS.
Well, here's my argument about the Reds rotation, and I said this last May actually. When they struggle, that rotation has a lot of guys that are capable of struggling. You have Aaron Harang, who's been up and down.
On the Dodgers.
Excuse me?
I think he's on the Dodgers still. Harang.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean,
Homer Bailey?
No, the other one. Why is his name escaping me right now? Bronson Arroyo. Arroyo is the one I'm thinking of. Like I said, when he's up and down, he's very inconsistent. Latos struggles from time to time. Bailey has been kind of the odd man out in terms of finding himself playing time for years, and now that he's actually been able to stay on the rotation, he's slowly clawing his way up.
He's putting consistent numbers up, and Cueto is a very inconsistent but very good pitcher. I mean, he has a lot going for him, but when there's just, it's weird. It's like a little switch. He'll go from an ace to a 4 or 5 starter in the middle of a game. I mean, he'll have his stuff rolling, and then he'll just give up hit after hit after hit after hit, and it won't look like he changed anything. But there's just something in his head. He's not hitting his spots. He's not throwing the right pitches. He's not making good decisions, whatever that may be.
Right. So that's why I've always kind of neglected to say that they have a solid rotation. I think that when it's on, it's definitely a good rotation, probably top 10 within the league, maybe even closer to top 5. But I still need to see more from it. I need to see them consistently do this again. So I'm kind of on the fence right now as to whether I would say that they have a good rotation. I say they have the makings of a good rotation.
And I still stand by Votto being my most underrated.
Right. Well, I'm seeing some names here that I didn't even think about. Martin Prado is definitely high on that. Andre Ethier and Doug Fister. But I gotta give credit to Beatles fan 87 for jumping on this one right before I got a chance to say it. Matt Cain would probably still be my number one most underrated player in baseball right now.
Yeah, I could see that.
He's highly overshadowed by Tim Lincecum. He's a number one. He has tremendous ability, and the fact that that team is still considered Lincecum's kind of bothers me.
Yeah, especially after the season that he had where they demoted him to bullpen. I think that Kane and Bumgarner are both very underrated, considering how much talent they both have. Vogelsong, he's having a good career resurgence. I don't consider him underrated, overrated. I think he's just there. And then Zito, I don't know what happened to him in San Francisco when he first got there. But
I'll tell you what happened. He got his money and he decided to fucking lounge.
Yeah, but I mean, he was a Cy Young Award-winning pitcher.
Yeah, and he still has the flashes from time to time. The problem is he's not very consistent with it.
He has a beautiful 12-6, but
yeah, probably still one of the best in baseball today.
I think his Verlanders and probably Strasburg are the top three. Most drop and just ridiculous pitch. But Mo, who do you think is your most underrated?
A guy that's really had an entirely underrated career, Paul Konerko. He's really been overshadowed by all the much better first basemen over the course of his career. Like Pujols, he has over 420 home runs and has a 283 lifetime average. So I think he's been
game up since he came to. He's definitely stepped his game up when he left Los Angeles and went to Chicago. But he was in the shadow of Frank Thomas leaving. Jermaine Dye had great numbers when he was there for the beginning of that time. I completely agree with you that Konerko has been overlooked, especially these past 5 years, that he's performed pretty much on the level of these top first basemen. His glove, I don't know if it's really there as much as the others, and he's much older than, for the most part, than the other guys. But I think he's been underrated for his time in Chicago.
All right, next question here. Interesting one. If there was one thing you would like to change about the CBA, what would it be?
I really don't know much about that whole topic. I've kind of stayed away from it because it just passed so quickly after what happened with football and hockey. I didn't really bother to look into it. But so, Jared, you take this one, and Mo, if you have anything, add on.
I think qualifying offers are just kind of dumb. I mean, like, it was like just like you, I don't know much about it, but like $13.3 million as a qualifying offer, I don't really get it.
I think it's a tough one. I still haven't read fully into the CBA. The only thing I touched up on was the conditions surrounding Michael Bourne, Adam LaRoche, and Kyle Loesch, which is since they had qualifying offers presented to them that they rejected and went into free agency, that means that whatever team would sign them would ultimately lose out on part of their purse for the draft to the team that this player originally played for. I think the big thing that I didn't like while reading up on that was that they've changed the structure. There's no longer a Type A and Type B free agent, which would have helped out in terms of draft and draft order. I think that one I'm not too fond of. I'd have to see it in play before I actually have a full-on verdict on it. But just the idea that there's no longer a Type A free agent that could net a team who made a qualifying offer to a player that ended up still going to free agency, that pretty much means that the team is getting nothing back in return.
I just think qualifying offers are kind of a waste. I think it should be you're either a restricted free agent or you're not. Whether you have then you have options, and that's it. If you're
I understand why they do it. I mean, it's a means to kind of penalize a team for just letting a player just walk out without even trying to kind of extend them. But
if you don't want to, well, I don't know why you're being forced to. You know?
well, it's to kind of to kind of set up the I'm having trouble with my words here. It's the setup to gaining the benefit for that free agent leaving your team. If there were no qualifying offers and you had a Type A free agent just leave without being able to, without even trying to sign him, and you got back 2 picks for that free agent signing with a different team, automatically, I think that kind of upsets the battle of the free agent market itself.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, next question.
Mr. RSM points out the draft picks costing money if you go over the amounted money you can spend in a draft. That was the part of the CBA that I had read up on, and I agree. I think that being penalized further financially for being given a set amount that you can spend on your draft picks is another thing I'm not too fond of so far. I have to see it further in action to see exactly how that's going to play out moving forward. But so far, I haven't seen any real big problems. The amateur drafts have been going on the way that they have historically, where guys just choose not to sign and probably bolster their stats for the upcoming amateur draft to possibly get a better seed in the draft order. But I think the idea of penalizing a team for going over a set amount of money to purchase their or to sign their draft pick is problematic just in its very nature. So I agree with that so far. Next question we have, best uniforms. Why not?
Best unis. Alternates or normal?
Any.
Let's just go with any.
Okay. For any, I love the new Astros uniforms. It makes them look like the AAA team that they are. Great looking colors to it. Brings back
Good
an old
point.
feel. I absolutely love it.
Can I build on that for a second? I really want to get into the rationale here. Do you think that the Astros are an actual AAA team, or do you think that they're more a quadruple A team, like the Marlins have demonstrated?
Oh, they're a AAA team with one player who can make it in the majors at the moment. Not two. Okay, I'll say a few who could be low-level major league players, and then a few who could be substantial.
Well,
Altuve, Martinez, substantially good to be better.
right,
Guys,
but here's the thing: quadruple A team, triple A teams are usually guys that get called up to the majors. Quadruple A teams are usually teams that are relegated as teams that serve as a means to kind of help gain some Major League Baseball experience, so that way these players can move on to do better things on other teams. Do you think the Astros would still qualify as a AAA team in your mind, knowing this now?
They're probably a 3.5 A team.
Okay.
Because they can go either way on that.
Right. Okay. So, what else did you have for best uniform?
The classic pinstripes are nice. They are. They're probably the biggest symbol in baseball.
Right.
Pinstripes, you think Yankees, even though many teams have had pinstripes over the years. Mets had pinstripes for a while. You think Yankees. That's what it is.
Right.
Besides that, I think I kind of want to see what the new Cardinals uniforms look like. I heard a few teams are changing some stuff up. Smalls was talking to me about that yesterday. He was at the Kings Blackhawks game today, and they lost and whatever. So he's not here with us tonight. I know we haven't really mentioned that, but he's having a good old time for the NHL season.
Right.
I kind of want to see what the Cardinals uniforms look like, but I like the nice Dodgers. That crisp blue on the ice white, beautiful color combination to that jersey. What do you think, Mo? And then we'll get to you, Jared.
I've always liked the A's uniforms. They just look so fresh to me. It's like the green, the white, the yellow bill on the cap. Just looks good.
Right.
All right. Jared?
I've always kind of been back and forth on my decision here. I think I kind of prefer the classic old away uniform for the Pittsburgh Pirates, simply because the color scheme just always screamed up more richness to me. Yeah, the
golden,
gray with the gold and the black.
Yes, very nice jerseys. Oh, if we're going all the way back to that, then I have to bring up something that Smalls was talking to me about last night. The old alternate jerseys that the Mariners wore in the Kingdome. That teal.
Oh,
those were the best.
I would agree with that.
Besides that,
how about the Astros rainbow jerseys?
That's as nice as the old White Sox collared ones with the shorts, and the McDonald's San Diego Padres jerseys. It was great for fashion then, as Jared knows.
Oh God!
Right.
But
I just want to go on record and say cocaine is a hell of a fucking drug.
And Doc Ellis knows that well.
Yeah.
Only pitcher to ever throw
Pretty much the entire 1986 Mets roster knows.
That's so unfortunate. But yeah, Doc Ellis the only pitcher to throw a no-hitter while high, or at least admittedly high. I think that's pretty much it for the jerseys. There are some nice ones. How about best alternate jersey?
I don't know. I think I'd go with the old the Mariners teal one.
I like that one. I also like the yellow A's jersey.
Yeah.
That's a nice. One last one on that. Padres Sunday home.
What, the camouflage one?
Camouflage. Absolutely love it. Support the troops. Support the Navy. Absolutely love it. Maybe not for aesthetics, but for its overall meaning, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Let's have like two more, and then we'll call it a show.
Right. Again, with the World Series predictions, I don't know if you guys want to entertain this one right now.
Not really. It'll be a long debate. So.
Well, let me scroll through here and see what other questions were asked. Does the idea of a salary cap sound possible?
No. Not the way they pay players. If you're going to set your salary cap for $300 million, sure. But I mean, if you think about it, the players who are going to be signed, look at some of these teams. I mean, the Jason Worth signing, what was that, $117 million, around there? Big
I think it was closer to 140.
140? Okay, yeah. Big contract. How many people can you afford like that each year? I mean, not $300 million for each season, but if you make it $100 million, that's for 25 players plus AAA and AA and single A. You have a lot of players that you have to account for, and I don't like salary cap idea. I think there should be a minimum. Astros, barely. They're not even going to reach $30 million.
It's crazy. I mean, A-Rod's going to get paid more than that entire Astros team.
Mm-hmm. So will Vernon Wells. Rick Ankiel just got signed by the Astros.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's interesting. Poor guy. That's better than playing for nobody, I guess.
Maybe.
It is.
I'd rather have a AAA championship than a worst record of all time type deal. I don't think they could be worse than the Cleveland Spiders, but I think they'll be the worst team in modern history.
All right, well, let's pound on that then, because earlier someone had asked over under on the Astros 50 games, 50 wins.
Under. 41.
Okay.
What about you? Are you gonna say push?
I'm still leaning towards push.
You're gonna say they're gonna get 50 wins on the dot.
I think they can definitely come within the range of it.
Can they get 50 wins on the dot?
50. I'm thinking they might get 51, maybe 52 at most.
And that means it is over. Okay. Last question. We have 5 minutes.
I'm not seeing any. Here we go. We got a couple of questions here. Real quick, let's do will David Price help sell 2K13?
No.
No.
It should be 13. If that game sells, it'll be a shock.
Yeah,
I think they should just give it to free because they owe it to us.
right.
If they've given us the past 3 years.
I wouldn't even take it if it was free, though.
I would. I want to be able to play baseball on my Xbox.
I got a PS3, so I have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, but there's no party, and I don't like that.
Right.
All my
Sure.
friends got this. You can't talk to people. It's bullshit.
True.
Thoughts on the Tigers?
Thoughts on the Tigers? They have a chance at making the World Series. They're going to get at least to the ALDS. Depending on how hot they are, will be the only determination of if they go farther. Whether the Blue Jays are contenders at that point, whether they've survived all the possible injury risks with the AstroTurf and with Josh Johnson and with all that stuff, whether the Angels have completely fallen apart, which they probably won't. They'll most likely make the playoffs. I said a while ago it'll probably be an Angels-Tigers ALCS. It could definitely be different, but that seems my best pick. Angels seem like the front runner by far in that AL West. They're nowhere near the caliber of last year's Rangers team. They're much better, in my opinion. Tigers, a very strong team, getting Martinez back with great top four starters, Verlander, Pfister, Scherzer, and Sanchez, in comparison to other teams, especially on Sanchez. But top three, very strong. The bullpen, a few questions. They have Coke. They don't have Valverde anymore, I don't believe. Right? Jared?
Oh, your
He's
thoughts?
a free agent.
Okay, Mo, thoughts overall?
On what?
Tigers.
Like you said, at the very least, ALDS, and I could definitely see them with the pitching staff they have right now getting back to the World Series.
Jared?
It's definitely possible.
I think, barring what the White Sox can end up doing with the rotation and the lineup that they have, it could be another nail biter towards the end for the Central. I think a AL Central banner would definitely be in their future. I think it's going to be a fight. Definitely playoff bound. Not sure how much further I can put them. I'm not sold on whether or not they can make the ALCS just yet.
All right. Okay, last question. Very last question.
Right. Let's see. What numbers do you guys think Mike Trout will put up this year?
310, 28, 35 stolen bases, 102 RBI, 160 runs.
That's fair. I agree with 310, 25, about 100 RBIs. I think he'll steal probably 50 bases, though, because every time he gets on base, he'll probably at least try to steal second base, maybe even third. So I'll say 50 stolen bases. But other than that, I agree with that.
I think they might hold him up on the stolen bases a little bit. I know he can, but with all of that behind him in that lineup, I don't know if I'd risk him stealing third all the time with Pujols and then Hamilton and then Trumbo right behind him, who could drive him in on a single from second. The need to get him to third isn't a necessary one all the time. Jared, how about you? What do you think his number's going to be?
I'm kind of on the fence here. I'm thinking either between 190 and 200 hits. I'm thinking probably close to another once again to 330 in batting average. I think his on-base percentage might actually go up considerably. I think he's going to get a lot more walks. I'd like to see his strikeout numbers drop down a little bit more, but even so, I could live with what 140, maybe 150 strikeouts from him. I want to say maybe he'll get 90 RBIs. I really do. I just don't think he's going to get as many opportunities for that, considering the back end of that lineup.
Yeah.
But I could definitely see 25, maybe 30 home runs again. just a bit of a slip there in his power numbers, just a bit, simply because I think a lot of pitchers are going to start to kind of gauge his tendencies and force him to make the adjustments to what they're doing with him now. But overall, I think we're definitely going to see some tremendous numbers out of him as we did just last season.
What do you think about runs?
Runs,
I know 160 sounded a little bit high, but
I think I can live with. Like I said, I think I could see a bit of a slip there. But maybe 125, maybe push that a little further to 130.
all right. Okay, guys, this was the Dugout episode 5. I'm MoonlightSwami. It's been Mo the Foe and Jared, aka Saint of Sins. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like this video, share it around, tell your friends, tell your coworkers at the water cooler anytime. We're here every Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll talk to you guys later. Say your pieces, guys.
Peace.
Later.